Murphy, coming to you from Acolyting in Los Angeles. I am joined today by my colleague Kat Covell, who happens to be over in New Jersey.
Hey, Will Murphy.
Yes, and somewhere in the background there is our colleague Ryan Kanarick.
Hello.
He's doing double duty right now, tech support and webinars. Amazing. So welcome to this week's Tech Talks. As usual, you have the opportunity to ask any and all questions about anything related to ACT products, specifically MA software for sure. We have a few questions from your registration form, and we're doing a kickoff topic about colors in the sheets. You're always welcome to email support@acolyting.com. As we usually do, remember the support tab on our website, which we've added a hardware section. If anybody watching is, there's a few bulletins there. We add them as we go along. We add these. And remember, if you have anybody that wants to sign up to be notified about software releases, you go to acolyting.com/webinars, put in your email address, first name, last name, and you'll check the box for webinars. And it's really strange, the little checkbox is not there. There we go. So we'd say webinars. If you want to know when we post new bulletins to our support pages, you can check that box and then just indicate the products you want to hear about. So if we do webinars on Claypacky and you have these boxes checked, you'll hear about them, and we always love to know what particular market you're from. Okay. So let's get the party started related to sheet colors. First of all, what's a sheet? Well, if you start with a blank screen, there's a Sheets tab when you go to create a window. So there's a channel sheet, DMX sheet, fixture sheet, sequence content sheet, sequence executor sheet, and a tracking sheet. The majority of colors that show up are going to be showing up in the channel sheet, the fixture sheet, the sequence content sheet, and the tracking sheet. There's not so many colors in the DMX sheet, because we're just looking at DMX, and there are not so many colors in the sequence executor sheet because this is effectively just a queue list. So in particular, where you end up seeing a lot of colors is in your fixture sheet, and some people will choose to ignore these colors. Maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe you only learn a few colors, or you choose to learn all of the colors. So first off, a very clear color is this gray. You see open here, center, closed, which is different than the cyan. Gray is indicating the value is at default. So the fixture is not selected, and the value is just sitting at its default. There's no executor controlling it. The programmer is not controlling it, anything like that. Now, if you actually select some fixtures here, you'll see their fixture ID and their name actually turn yellow. And just for comparison, if you guys have a lot of dimmers and you're using channel sheets, you'll see the same thing here. The channel ID turns yellow. Remember, every single sheet has a yellow ball in the top left. There's a whole slew of display options. So in the channel sheet, I've gone to the display options, and I have an option to turn on the name field, and then I would actually see the name of the channel. And in that case, just like the fixture sheet, when the name of the fixture turns yellow, you see the ID and the name turn yellow. Some people choose to turn off that name field because it's a waste of space, or they don't care, they just only care about the numbers. You have all these options associated with what your sheets look like. So we have this, so far we've covered gray and yellow, and the other color you might see is the dark blue background. So if you see a blue background behind a channel ID or fixture name, there's nothing really to worry about. However, let me look at a groups pool here and run my, I always forget to run my macro. It gives me the groups I want. I'm going to put a playback pool here, and I'm going to assign a group, this group, to an executor, and it's orange. This indicates I have an inhibitive group master. When I bring this down, suddenly the background of my channel or my channel ID or the name of my fixture turns purple. The purple background is telling you that the output of that fixture, the dimmer output of that fixture or channel, is being inhibited or limited by a group master. So anytime you see purple background, even though your dimmer says it's at full, if I look at the bottom of my fixture sheet, I go to output layers, you'll see, oh, the dimmer is actually at 78% on the actual DMX output because it's inhibited by this master. So if this master is all the way up, everything's normal. If you see a purple background, you know that something is inhibiting the output. And if you can't find your group master, you have this handy group key here. If you press and hold that, you get the master's view, where you get playback masters, rate masters, speed masters. We covered all of those in a previous webinar, which you can find or remember on our YouTube channel somewhere. I took it away. YouTube Act Tech Talks, and we could find our YouTube channel here where you find the Tech Talks, and there's one here on Special Masters. So if you want to review that, you can go to our YouTube channel and watch everything about Special Masters. Remember, that purple background means that there's an inhibitive group master. You can bring this back to full, and your purple background goes away. So the normal blue background means everything's normal. There's another type of background color that exists. There's 3 of these. So dark blue is what it's at right now. You get purple. There's one more where if you don't want your fixture controlled by master, say grandmaster, maybe my house lights, I would say by default these are set to react to master. I could turn those off. So those 6 fixtures are not affected by masters, and now you get this brighter blue. So you'll notice that this, let's see, if we go to put our grandmaster at 50, and we go to the GMX layer, you'll see that these ones are inhibited by the grandmaster, but this brighter sort of background blue is telling you that you can pull your grandmaster down, but these will still stay at 100. So I will usually go into my patch for my house lights, and this react to master field, I'll turn it off. Normally with everything else, you leave this on. Okay. There's a whole bunch more colors to cover here. The value text can have several colors. So we already talked about gray, right? And then there's the red. So this actual text, if we put in our programmer 50%, now you have actual text, which is red, which indicates that the programmer is controlling it as opposed to an executor, as opposed to the value being a default. Now right now you also have red background. Red background indicates it's active as opposed to deactive. So the red text itself means that the programmer has control, and then you have active red background. Normally the active red background is what we reference for storing those values. Pink values indicate that there's an effect that's controlling it. I think I forgot to store an effect, so let's grab all of these lights and we'll put them in a circle, and we'll store this as the next cue. And you'll see you get this pink kind of marker flag. That's a marker. And if we go to the effect layer, you will see that there's an effect running. Another option that we have where you really would see pink values is, let's say I have this effect running. Go to my effects pool. I will store this. I'll store this as a selective effect, and then we will assign this effect directly to an executor. So now this effect is running directly on this executor, and if you look in your fixture sheet, now you actually get pink values. So anytime you see pink text, that means that there is an effect here that lives directly on the executor. So this is not a normal cue list. This is an effect that's assigned directly to the executor. And if you see pink values in your fixture sheet, you know there's an executor running somewhere that has an effect on it. Magenta, you're probably familiar with this one. It's a tracked value, and it only is going to display magenta if it's from the selected executor. So if you guys have multiple executors, I'm going to move executor 30 to this executor, and you know it's not selected anymore, so it just shows in yellow. So yellow text indicates that a executor has control, but it's not selected. So you see you get bright yellow text, which means it's hard value, whereas it goes dark yellow when it's tracked. And if I go ahead and select that executor, then you see the actual tracked values, which are going to be magenta. The cyan value that we saw at the beginning when we go to Q1 indicates that it's a hard value. It was actually controlled by the current queue that you're in. Anytime you see green, just like we covered in a tracking sheet, the green indicates it only applies to dimmer. The dimmer value is going down. So green is a unique value, only applies to dimmer, and it means the value is going down. And then if you see white values, so we'll grab all of these and we're going to store them at full in Q5. And we clear all, and now suddenly these values are white because they're the same as the previous queue. So where else would we see these colors? You would expect to see these colors in a tracking sheet. So you could see the dimmer is hard stored in the first queue. It tracks, it tracks, it tracks. In Q5 it goes white because it's the same as the previous queue, and you'll see it's green here because it goes down in value. So the cyan, the magenta, the green, and the white are all tracking colors, but you notice you also will see those in your fixture sheet. Some other colors that you might see have to do with background colors. I already talked about the blue background, the purple background. You have the red background, which is active. Other times that you're going to see background colors is under the output layers, and you'll see value executor ID or value queue ID. So value executor ID is how you would locate what is actually controlling this value. And this indicates that executor 5 on page 1 is controlling these values. But you notice the background color utilizes the tracking colors that we already understood from before. So this is telling you, oh, the pan tilt for fixture 102 is being tracked, but the pan tilt for fixture 101 is new hard stored, whereas the dimmer value for fixture 105 is redundant and hard stored again, even though it's the same as the previous queue. Going to get the same thing under effects related to that that, start this one, turn that off. And we're going to see the pink background. So on the value layer, we get the actual pink values, but on the output layer, we get the pink background. Okay, so those are some of the background colors. The other things you're going to see in your sheets have to do with markers. That's these little square boxes. Maybe on your sheet, your display options, maybe those are disabled. Enable marker, you can turn those off if you don't like them, or you can leave them on if they're useful. Some of the markers that exist, you know, if you have active information, you get a big red marker. If you have just the values in your programmer, you're going to get a white marker. It just indicates it's in the programmer, the red text, but it's a white marker. The cyan marker indicates it's coming from a preset as opposed to a hard value. So you'll notice that the dimmer information is not coming from a preset, so it doesn't have a cyan marker, whereas this position information comes from a preset, so you get the cyan marker. The yellow marker is saying that this value is being controlled directly from the sequence. Some other markers that exist, you'll notice you get the same cyan, but it's just half height, and that's telling you that this value is tracked. The pink marker is telling you that there's an effect running on that attribute, which you would go to the effect layer to see information about that, such as the ID or the form that's running. Let's see if the green markers exist. There's a couple other markers that are unique. The green and orange markers are related to individual time. So if I put these all, select all the fixtures, we put them at 25%, and I do an individual fade of 5 seconds and an individual delay of 1 second, you'll see a green marker and an orange marker. And then under the name, you get a little bit of everything. So this means that this alpha spot has some active information on some of its attributes. It's got some attributes that are being controlled by a preset. The green says that it's got some attributes with individual fade time. The orange indicates it's got some attributes with individual delay, and the pink indicates there are some attributes running in effect. And this little white marker over here, it's going up and down, is a reference point for the pan tilt location. So we use this to indicate whether we need to flip a particular fixture or not. Something that happens sometimes, let's see if we go back to, let's just go to Q1, and you'll notice these white markers are all in the middle. If I select that one fixture and I say flip, you'll notice it's going to be pointed at the same place, and we can flip again. That fixture is still pointed at the same place, but those are one of 3 sets of pan tilt values that correlate with that same location. And that little white marker can be used to make sure that it's not going to do a 360-degree flip for the next fade. So I sometimes will reference that white marker. If I've got a fixture, if I hit go and this fixture flips around 360 degrees, a quick way I can determine which one doesn't line up is by referencing that little white marker on the left there. You see center, 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 center. Oh, why is this one at the bottom? Because I need to flip it. And flip is also available in tools. In the tools menu, you can flip it a couple times. So lots of different colors in the sheets. They also have a little section about the colors in the sequence sheet, sequence executor sheet here. Anytime you see this light gray, it's actually something you can edit. Sometimes you'll have limited user rights which don't allow you to change things, and then you don't have the editability, so it shows a black background. Or essentially a darker gray. So this black / darker gray is something that you can't edit. Same over here. You'll see these other colors, these green. The green is related to out or down going fade or delay time, so it's the out times that you're dealing with for values that are going down. That's why dimmer values going down are in green, because they're matching up. So if you have a different out fade for your dimmer values, you'd put in that unique timing here. Normally by default it follows the in fade. I think one other time, I never actually stored this cue, so we're going to do 5 seconds fade, 2 seconds delay, and we're going to store this as the next cue. So now we go there, and nope, what I want to do is go back to my sequence executor sheet. Sorry, back at my sequence executor sheet, and do we see some? I'm looking for one more set of colors. Dark green. There's the bar that I wanted. This is a darker green bar, and the orange bar. So the orange bar is related to individual delay, and the darker green is associated with the individual fade time that exists. And then there's one other, instead of a darker orange, there's a regular orange, which is associated with this command delay field. So if you want to go executor 1.2, you can put in a delay here as well. You'll notice that's a brighter orange. So all kinds of colors everywhere. It's a whole lot of colors to remember, but you don't need me to tell you. It's in the help manual. It's what I'm reading right now. You could say help, tap on the title bar. You'll find all the way at the bottom a link to the colors are not on that page. So if we go back to fixture sheet and we say help title bar, go down here, you'll see colors and sheets. And this particular page describes everything that we were just talking about. So if you're trying to go back and remember what the colors mean, you can easily get to there by tapping help on the title bar of your sheet, scroll to the bottom, colors and sheets. Remember, if you're at home, you can also find colors and sheets. It's under reference, Windows, sheets, colors and sheets, or of course you can search for it, colors in the sheets. And then you find the link for colors and sheets. So that's the kickoff topic. We got a good 20 minutes left. Please post your questions, try to stump us, and hey Kat, did I miss anything?
Yeah, we have 2 more for you.
Good.
All right, super priority. Super priorities show up like group master.
Yeah, does super priority have a color?
Yeah.
If I remember correctly, it looks like a group master is
So
effectively.
yeah, it should look like a group master.
And also give you an exclamation point.
Yeah, I remember the exclamation point. Ah, that's true. Okay, so the purple background with the exclamation point tells you guys that these fixtures have super priority as controlled by this executor. So if we double check the DMX, if I try to select these and bring these to 0, they are stuck at 100% on the output. The programmer says they're at 0, but a super priority executor, indicated by this exclamation point, tells you that this executor has the greatest control over all these values, including the programmer. So use super priority sparingly, because if you have an executor that tells those lights to be on and you use your programmer to try to turn them off, they're going to stay on. The nice thing though is the fixture sheet tells you with the purple and the exclamation point.
Cool.
Another one?
Yeah, there's one more. When your programmer or your values are being held by another user.
Yeah, I meant to cover that one. I forgot. Sorry. So let's say you got these lights at 100% and they're on the Singer, right? And I am currently logged in as user 2. So user profile 2, I have red background, red values. Now if I'm in session with another desk and I'm logged in as a different user, let's say I'm the wing user, so I'm going to log in as wing, and I go to this fixture sheet, you see gray background with white values. This is a very unique set of colors because this is telling me that another user has these values captured in their programmer. Okay? I could sit here and hit clear all day long, but those lights are going to stay at full. But the whole system, the multi-user environment, works on LTP. So if I want control of this fixture, I just grab it, and now it's at 0. The other user does not have control of that value anymore. I do. And same here. So if I needed all these lights to go to 0, all I have to do is grab them and point them on the keyboardist. So now, if I go back to user 2, this user 2, see? We'll log in as user 2. User 2 still has 107 through 112 in their programmer, but the other user has taken control of the dimmer and position for 101 through 106. So be aware of those gray values. Cool?
Cool. All right, that's colors in the sheet. Let's get to these questions then. So, one of the registration questions is, how would I make a macro that would quickly cycle through common sheet views?
Well, all these display settings are not accessible via the syntax. Therefore, you will have to manually create different views. So if you would like a fixture sheet with, I don't know, font 22, no output layer, no symbol features, no colors. That's all it's just, well, we'll leave the fixture ID on. Fixture sort, no markers, names and numbers, don't want to merge values, and no title buttons. Well, that's just a view, so we would store this as view 101. And I'll call it my big fixture sheet. Now I want a view with all the buttons on, and little tiny font, and auto on. All this stuff comes back on. I want all of this. I would store this as view 102, and I think I'm overriding views, but it's no big deal. Tiny fixture. So that's view 101, view 102, view 101. Okay, so these would become macros somewhere. Cool. This is view 101, view 102. I could keep going, and my macro lines would be set to go. And step through views. So that's my step through views macro. Maybe I want this right there on this view button, so I assign this here, and now I can step through these views. If I look at the view pool, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. See what happens. View 2, view 3, view 4. And these would all be goes. And now I created a macro to toggle through all those. So if you have a specific sheet of options you want to toggle through, you just make views. Yeah, remember the view pool is very big. It goes up to 9,999. And for those of you wondering why does it stop, because we don't want to index everything. But if you want access to everything, you'll store view 9999. And now you have access to all the views forever and ever. Cool. Next question?
Awesome. Now this one's come up a couple of times, Will. I feel like we maybe need to take it back to the basics, but this is there any way to have a fanning effect on the release of a flash button?
No, because the release of a flash button is turning off the executor, and there's no way to have individual time referenced when an executor is turning off. It's just an executor turning off. You're not turning off a queue. You're just turning off an executor. When an executor turns off, it turns off. So create two queues. Queue 1 is the go, which is like a flash, and then you tap the button again to turn it off in the next queue. And keep in mind, individual time. By the way, all these gray values, if you'd like to grasp everything, you do fixture through please, please, and it captures everything in your programmer, and then you can clear it out. So select executor 20 at 100, and I want a delay of 5 through 0 through, nope. I want to do 2 through 0 through 2. Store that as my first queue, and we'll do 1 second fade. Now when I hit go, you see those fade up, right? If you want them to fade out in the same way, you have to make a second queue. And this delay would be, do it the other way, 0 through 2 through 0. And we'll store fade 1, please create second queue. And now you have a second queue. So now a lot of people get frustrated because the executor stays on. This is where you would take advantage of mode release. So now I hit go, and then I hit go. When these all finish fading out, the executor automatically turns itself off. So sorry you don't get to hold your button, but you get to double tap it. So what I would do is I would basically hold my button down like a flash and then release tap again, which is essentially the same thing as you holding and releasing. There's a wish on the list to have the release of a button execute a command, which ideally would be a go, but not there. Not there yet.
All right,
That
cool.
answers that one?
Yeah. This is a good little iTime demonstration. So this is actually related to what you were talking about earlier. You mentioned flip. Is that a command that is changing the default position of the fixture, or is it going to release after you clear?
No, it's just changing how these are pointed. So you bring those to full, and you point them here. They take on a set of pan tilt values. Now with yoke fixtures, if you flip all of these, they're still pointed there because most yoke fixtures can have up to 3 different sets of pan tilt values and still be pointed at the exact same place. So you'll notice pan is now 200. If I flip this again, pan is minus 138. If I flip this again, pan is at 41. They're always pointing at the same place because many positions allow you to be to the same fixture physical point can be any of 3 sets of pan tilt values. Did I explain that right, Kat? Does that sound clear? Does that answer that question?
That sounds clear to me. I think it definitely answers it. You're putting values in your fixture sheet. You're not messing with the default of the fixture itself.
Yeah, this has nothing to do. This is just live. This is just live programming tool. It's a tool. If you've panned your fixture all the way to the left and you don't want it to flip 360 degrees in the next queue, you're going to flip it.
Cool. All right. It looks like the last 2 questions that I have are completely, they're just related to webinars. So we do have a request for a webinar on Timecode.
Yeah, we will try to plan that one. Timecode is not very hard at all, though. Anybody, I think, can learn this themselves. It's actually in the help manual. The easy thing to understand, a queue list goes top down. Timecode takes that queue list and makes it horizontal. And a timecode has events that associate with each queue and when you want them to trigger. So how to use the timecode is all in the help manual. So you search for timecode, you'll find encoder toolbar timecode, then you'll go to timecode editor, and it'll teach you how to edit the timecode. And look at one of these particular views. The text view of the timecode show looks like a queue list, and it just has trigger points. It's always been very strange to me over the years that everybody thinks timecode is this complicated, annoying animal that's totally different, etc. It's not. You already know queue lists. So what we do is we put a queue, and it has a little trigger point right there associated with a time on a timeline. So instead of you hitting the code button, there's some clock signal coming in, and it's running over this event and triggering it. But we'll plan a webinar for it.
Cool. Yeah, and then it's also very show dependent. I mean, using timecode is going to be different depending on what you need it for. So it's just very much so not that difficult of an animal like you're saying. All right, and then the very last question looks like that I've got here is best practices for sACN.
I don't even know what that means.
I was just going to mention that we're doing a webinar on this, so probably we need to have them tune in to the next one.
Yeah, is that on Thursday? Is our network
protocols? Yeah.
Yeah. Kind of the same as what I said about timecode. sACN, ArtNet, MA2, KeyNet, ShowNet, it's just DMX. DMX is 512 channels per universe, and it is transported on something called RS-485. sACN is DMX that is transported via Ethernet using a protocol called sACN. What's the difference? It's not. It's that one universe goes down one RS-485 cable because it can't handle more data than that. So they decided to create sACN, which can carry hundreds of universes down one cable. I don't know what best practices are. I mean, you should separate MANet from sACN, so I'd recommend an MA switch to do that because it's way easier than trying to use any other managed switch on the market. We're having a webinar on Thursday, so bring your specific questions there. Cool.
Cool.
Any other questions before we end it?
Seems to be silent. I think we're golden, Will.
Yeah, good. Perfect timing. Hey guys, it's been a pleasure.
And thanks for attending.
As usual, if you have questions that we did not answer, email support@actlighting.com. And happy programming.
Happy programming.